Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and this is a breakdown of The Penguin, episode 7, titled Top Hat. And you'll know why it's called Top Hat soon. Like episode 4, this episode serves a delicious flashback, but not in the same way it gave Sofia's. We learned so much about Oz's family and how his childhood shaped him into the man he is today, but we gotta answer who shaped the monster. Well, we'll get into it in this video, so let's break down episode 7 and find all those Easter eggs and little details you might have missed. But first, we want to remind you to check out nerdriot.shop, where you can always find the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. You can still grab some merch inspired by Agatha all along, as well as some Venom-inspired merch, because that movie just came out like last week. Find something perfect for the nerd in your life this holiday season, or for yourself, because you gotta gift yourself something. You always have to. If you don't, then what's the point of celebrating the holidays? All right, now let's get into this breakdown. We open the episode with 1983's Island in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. You probably know the classic love song that has been done a million times by now, so we don't really need to get into it, but all you really need to know, it's a very harmonious love song. Francis is shuffling through a bunch of receipts. It looks like she's cooking the books. Oz is messing with his leg brace using a little pole to scratch his leg as he stares at his mom working. When the song says, "Tender love is blind, it requires some dedication," when it plays that part of the song, the shot is over the shoulder of Oz's shoulder, gazing at his mother, not looking in his direction. Though this is just a boy who loves and takes pride in his mama, it's clearly much bigger than that. These shots were offered for a reason. The shot shows his everyday emotional attachment to his mom. I also like that you can see Francis's blue eyeshadow because this girl's been wearing it for years. This relationship, in better words, and my words, it's f***ed up. He's talking and treating his mom like a girlfriend.
It's a date then.
Oh yeah? Who's paying?
I love my mother. I'll do anything under God's eyes for my mother. She is my son, but the psychology of children, especially boys who have these relationships with their mothers, sort of Norman Batesy, can be dangerously unhealthy. The lengths he'll go for his mom are just unwell. This early flashback frames this episode and dives deeper into all the leading players here, Francis, Sofia, and Oz, and how their lives were derailed by their mental disorders or another environmental factor that played a huge role in acquiring it. This theme is explored in different versions of Batman projects. Gotham just doesn't know the difference between psychiatric illness and criminality. However, pushing for this story more personally in Oz and Sofia is really fascinating to me. The last few episodes focused on class warfare, and this dives into untreated mental disorders and disease within both the working and ruling classes, and I just really like this take. Then Francis says this:
My big, strong bull of a boy.
Francis actually said this to Oz back in episode 1 when he told her he killed Alberto. Then in runs his two brothers, older brother Jack and younger brother Benny. We both know they died under unknown circumstances. This apartment isn't the same one we've been seeing. In episode 5, Francis mentions that the apartment she's currently in reminded her of the one she had with her boys, aka this one. They both look very similar in wallpaper, furniture, and the whole 9 yards. You can also see some classic board games on the shelf: Clue, Monopoly, Wheel of Fortune, the Junior Edition based on the Red Box. Oz watches, a little jealous, as Francis plays with Jack and Benny, and they're running around, but he can't because of his leg. Francis gets Benny in his jacket. The zipper isn't working, but this shirt looks like a knockoff of Muttley from Hanna-Barbera. And Jack, Oz, and Benny walk. Jack has this conversation though with Oz about sports that I actually really like. Oz says he doesn't want to play baseball, he'd rather play soccer. And in episode 5, Francis goes through an old box of stuff and finds a little league glove that belonged to Jack. Later in episode 5, Oz tells Vic Jack was the baseball player of the family, not him or Benny. Also, the photos on the wall kind of gave this away too. She's having Jack and the boys deliver Rex's books. We know who Rex is, Oz just never shuts up about him, so I won't get too into it here. At this point though, Oz thinks he is the wealthiest man in Gotham. Rex ran this neighborhood, and as Oz mentioned in the first episode, when he died, they held a parade in his honor. He also died of a heart attack when Oz was 14, so not long after this point, I presume. It's still unclear whether he had an intimate or even super close relationship with Francis, but after their interaction here, he says offhandedly, "How's your mom doing? Give her my regards." He was close to everyone in the neighborhood, but she was doing extra work for him, so all the cards are still on the table regarding whether this relationship was something more. Also, Oz resembles Rex way more than his other brothers do. They don't even look like him. They don't even have black hair. Rex also introduces Jack to his boys as Francis Cobb's son with no mention of the dad at all. I'm just saying, if this is the father, I wouldn't be surprised. It feels like Oz is back in his old neighborhood, which is either in or near Crown Point. In episode 5, Vic talks to Oz about how he was raised near Crown Point, but Oz never corrects him. Regardless, it's all the east side, and like Crown Point, the Riddler also flooded this area in the future. As they walk, they stop at this little beauty of a car, and if you remember his speech on Rex being a god, this is Rex's chariot.
Had this gold Cadillac, white leather seats. It's beautiful. Rex's ride, it wasn't just a car, it was a chariot.
Also, it's funny that Oz immediately noticed the rims on the car because that's what Vic and his boys were trying to steal that one day. Full circle. Rex mentions that Jack joined the junior ROTC and will be a hero one day, showing that Jack was on the straight and narrow, preparing to enlist in the military. He wanted to be a good kid and was probably well aware of the shady dealings his mother was getting his family tied up in. This is the complete opposite of Oz, who is ready to be a gangster when he sees that cash. Rex exchanges the books for $50, and immediately Benny says he could go to the arcade and play Double Dragon forever. Double Dragon is an arcade game released in 1987. Similar to what we're seeing here, it involves two brothers fighting evil to rescue Marion, who an evil organization kidnapped. I'm sure Oz sees himself as the heroic brother and his mother as Marion. Still, I'd say the brothers were trying to keep the mother safe from all the gangs and crime around them, and Oswald will soon reveal himself to be the evil organization from the game. I think it's just slight foreshadowing is all. We get a broad scope of the city and the subway train. Over this shot, we see the DARE poster that says resist drugs and violence. In this series, you wish. A campaign poster for Ryan Scott, and it's very Jersey. The poster says, I will fight for yous. Yous guys. Then they arrive at this undisclosed location to play flashlight tag, something they've done before by the looks of it. It also looks like they're using the same entrance to the tunnels that Oz and Vic used at the end of episode 5, and what nostalgia this all must bring him. They strategically edit around the symbol on the door, but from episode 5, it's still the same design saying Transit Authority Gotham City Trolley. They grab their 3 flashlights inside and the games begin. They play flashlight tag in the train tunnels, and in episode 5, Oz mentioned how he and his brothers played down here before. He finds the trolley token then inside the broken down trolley, which I believe is the same one he'll kill Sal in later. Well, kill Sal in later. This token we saw him find in this jar of change in episode 5. This token was the light bulb for where to set up shop. I assume this is the same station Oz now has his base in. It makes sense practically because they can just reuse the set for a flashback, but also gives extra meaning for Oz choosing this as his new base of operations. Oz, after finding his brothers, is mocked into coming down the wet ladder to tag them. That's when he slips a little and immediately freaks out. In retaliation, he criticizes his brothers, telling them he knows it's hard for him to do this kind of stuff, and as they apologize and offer to switch turns, Oz slams the metal door shut, locking his brothers in. Oz stared at this door menacingly at the end of episode 5, and who would have thought it meant so much? The anguish he has bringing up his brothers and looking at the door makes me believe he didn't know his brothers couldn't get out, but also he didn't want to come clean about him killing them in the first place. Oz told Vic back in episode 5 that the city took his brothers, which at first sounds like an excuse, blaming the literal city and the rain as the force of nature. However, I think he now meant himself. I mentioned over and over in these breakdowns how Oz represents the city. Essentially, he meant that the city molded him to be what it is that killed his brothers. The city made him selfish, unrelenting, weak, and cowardly, and these traits never gave justice to his brothers' deaths. This also might echo why, even as an adult, he continued to care for his mom because he just felt guilty for killing his brothers. Oz makes it home in the rain without his brothers. We hear his mom still working away on those books and listening to 1982's Yazoo, Only You. A song, like its title, is about recognizing all you ever needed in the world was that one person. And for Oz, before his brothers, before Rex, was always his mom. Oz says his brothers went to see Beetlejuice, released in 1988 and starred Michael Keaton, the future Batman. The connections we're making are so important. Oz makes Francis her favorite, a whiskey and soda, and it reminds me of the film Mommy Dearest, a biopic about film star Joan Crawford, where her young daughter, Tina, would make her mother cocktails to try and make her happy. They lay together watching Top Hat starring Fred Astaire, and Fred Astaire's outfit does remind me of the classic Penguin look because it's a tuxedo, but it has the tail at the end of it. So we're seeing much of the Penguin's visual motifs coming to light between Rex and Fred Astaire and a lot of other things in the series. Oz keeps looking outside at the abundance of rain, probably wondering where his brothers are, but also knowing damn well he locked them in an overflow tunnel, and by now it was way too late to even try to save them. Why waste these precious moments alone with his mom by telling her where the brothers really are and that he actually was the reason they died? In episode 1, Francis told Oz this:
The boys were playing in the bed. They didn't want to get out.
And this is even more of a gut punch now that we know they drowned. Then the Penguin title segues over what looks like running water, but is actually wet, dimly lit pavement. Snow is light on the ground, the power's back up in Crown Point. Oswald should feel A+ right now. He even thanks the councilman from the last episode he forced into getting the power back on. When Oz enters the apartment, all hell broke loose in here. Sofia definitely showed up with that crowbar. We didn't see any action between her and Vic before taking Francis away, though that crowbar definitely made contact with Vic's head. Oz sends Vic out the window, and it seems at first like he wanted to save him, but he told him to return with an army. Also, the line, "F your guilt," has a bit of a sinister overtone, given that we just saw Oz accidentally drown his brothers. Accidentally. Regardless, he sends him to get Zhao and Donnie Boy and go down the chain. These are the gang leaders at the Gold Summit in the last episode. And up comes Sal Maroni and his goons, and he still has the golf club from last episode. Back with Sofia, who currently has Francis as a hostage, she's making toast and listening to Jorvak, Rondo, and G minor for cello and piano. This came out in 1891. Anton Jorvak was a Czech composer. Sofia brings Francis a little breakfast, and Francis is completely coherent during this conversation, for a while at least. She's throwing back the same sarcasm and attitude Sofia's been giving everybody 24/7, and I actually really love this interaction. Sofia said Oz told her Francis died a few years ago. Since Oz didn't visit Sofia in Arkham Asylum, this would have been before she went to Arkham. Francis mentions vividly how Oz set Sal's wife and son on fire, though I don't think we ever saw her learning this. He did tell his mom he killed Alberto, and Vic lied to her saying that Oz killed the Falcones a few episodes back. So like Sofia confirms 30 seconds later,
Oz tells you a lot, huh? Yes, he does.
This video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. Their Black Friday sale is running now for a limited time, and it's a great time to upgrade your mattress. Visit helixsleep.com/rockstars to get 25% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows and receive a free bedding bundle with your Luxe or Elite order. And get this, your mattress will come to you. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. The mattress comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up yourself. Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love your mattress, and their mattresses have a 10-year warranty. Helix also offers financing options and flexible payment plan so you can get the perfect mattress right for you. Helix offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections, Helix Plus for big and tall sleepers, and the Helix Kid mattresses. Finding your perfect mattress is so easy thanks to Helix's sleep quiz, and I wanted a medium, firm mattress with lumbar support that sleeps cool, and I got matched with the Dusk Luxe Helix mattress. I've had it for years now, and it's fantastic. I love my Helix mattress, and I think you would too. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix Sleep. Their Black Friday sale is running now for a limited time, and it's a great time to upgrade your mattress. Visit helixsleep.com/rockstars to get 25% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows and receive a free bedding bundle with your Luxe or Elite order. Sofia breaks it down for Francis, telling her someone shaped him to be the monster, alluding to the fact he was shaped by his monster mother. Then Francis says this:
When my Oswald puts a bullet in that pretty little skull of yours, I'll be tap dancing on your grave like Ginger Rogers.
And this was Fred Astaire's co-star in Top Hat. Full circle again. Sofia triggers her by mentioning the boys and insinuating Francis let them die and Oz had something to do with it. That's when Francis, gets a flashback to when they were searching for the boys, and this must have been the next morning because she mentions how they're probably soaking wet and cold because it was raining all night and no one saw them at the arcade or the movies. Francis is coming to in the middle of her and Sofia's conversation about the boys. Her hand twitches almost uncontrollably. Sofia watching Francis slip into this memory is similar to how Dr. Rush watched Sofia when she flashed back to her time in Arkham at the beginning of episode 2. It's also interesting here how Francis gravitated to the yellow window, similar to the dimmed yellow tones of the old apartment and the tinted yellow drapes. Like she went to the window, rested her head on the glass, and waited for the boys to return. Sofia then starts making tea, watching the kettle cook. Sofia's framed behind the kettle, the heat rising and distorting the air around her. And have you heard of that psychology behind putting the kettle on? In Britain, it's used to take a break, step away from the situation at hand. Once it sounds, it's like its own timer for you to come back to the problem at hand. This is what Sofia is doing, whether she knows it or not, and at this moment, she's reflecting on what Francis said. Dr. Rush interrupts, saying he has a friend who works at Brookside where Gia is held. Brookside seems to be made for just this show. However, could this be a female psychiatrist? Could this be Dr. Harleen Quinzel, perhaps? I doubt it, but you can't offer another psychiatrist who's up to no good in Gotham and not point out the obvious contender. Regardless, Gia wants to speak to the police about the night her family died because she saw something. Now, where have I seen this sort of story play out before? Oh yeah, this is similar to what led to Carmine stowing away his daughter in Arkham Asylum for 10 years. So now we're questioning which route Sofia will take, silencing her niece or turning herself in. But Freakazoid McGee over here, Dr. Rush, offers to speak with Gia, which Sofia knows given his tactics aren't a good idea. Her niece is innocent and scared, like she was when she was admitted into Arkham. So Sofia enlists Dr. Rush's actual help in unraveling Francis' memory, finding something she can really use. Back at the Penguin's underground shop, it's just usual business. I will say lots of cases of Tri-Corner's gold beer going out, and this is probably how they distribute it in the city where no one can see it. Then Sal storms in with his goon, shooting a few folks and announcing they're taking over the business. Also, here goes Sal, being a classist, talking about how dirty this lair is, knowing damn well it's cool as Oz goes through his mental Rolodex of tricking people 101. He finds the best way to connect with Sal on the same level is to taunt him. This is after he calls him a sewer rat, which them be fighting words. That's like the man that called Aladdin a street rat. Like that makes you pissed off no matter what. Oz also hates being criticized by the yuppie rich dicks, so he hits Sal where he knows it'll hurt.
You know what I'll never forget? It's the smell. Burning flesh, muscle, fat, shit. Smell of hair. Tell me, Sal, did your beautiful wife Nadia, did she wear a special kind of hairspray or something? Because man, she went up like a tinderbox.
Sal was about to set Oz on fire, and Sal says, "Give me a light," when ironically, Oz's guys takes away the light, allowing Oz to escape. Sal chases Oz into the train car, and the girls start tussling. Sal has a heart attack and dies as he's kicking Oz's ass, and this moment is perfectly underwhelming. Also, this man was stabbed not long ago and is still healing from it, so this is a very L death and win for Oz. However, there's something about both Sal and Rex both dying of heart attacks on the east side. I feel like there's something there specifically. Maybe the east side is actually cursed. This scene had a lot of layers, and I want to believe this is a part of their inner workings for gangs in Gotham. Like, if Oz didn't kill him and people learned it was just a heart attack, no one would fear him. But also, he needed to kill Sal because he needed to feel strong for his mother and himself. So Oz is a little disappointed at the outcome. Oz then takes Maroni's ring that has truly been sisterhood of the traveling pants scene this entire season and proclaims, "I win." And this shot of dead Sal Maroni and Oz standing over him is so good. It's giving long live the king. The old king is dead and his shadow is rising to the top. The light's back on and he tosses Sal Maroni's body from the train car, just throws it like a sack of potatoes. The train car is also actually numbered 58, and Penguin debuted in Detective Comics number 58. So a little Easter egg there. Now at Brookside, and I hate and love this scene so much. I feel like Sofia genuinely believed she was helping Gia in all of this. The Falcones were terrible people for what they did to Sofia, but that's just the whole point, isn't it? They did it to Sofia. I'm not saying what happened to Sofia wouldn't have happened to someone else, but this decision, like her being sent to Arkham, was out of their control, and now Gia is going through that same turmoil. Also, why didn't she take guardianship over Gia? I could see that since Sofia was a suspect initially, they probably didn't allow her to take Gia. Additionally, Sofia is still seen as the hangman who was released from Arkham Asylum. She wasn't acquitted of the crime, so she legally probably couldn't take Gia. But like, who the hell are you to tell me what's best for me and then give me the worst? Gia is old enough to remember her parents and what Sofia did. And in what world in the Gotham universe does this mean that Gia will come out fine? Gia is gonna come out as a horrible person probably, with the same vengeance and revenge that Sofia had. Regardless, you can see that she's scratching her wrist and she's harming herself like Sofia did in her sleep. She left all those all too similar marks across her flesh. In the series, Sofia gets panic attacks when she wakes up from her dreams of being in the noose instead of her mother, and it's sad to see her living the new nightmare but enduring a similar panic attack, but this time it's just very real. The noose is now a leash, and she's starting to recognize the pattern her dad left on her that she needs to break free from because now she's become her father in some ways, especially to Gia. She then gets a phone call, and they love this bit of using a cell phone of a person who was just killed in the show. This happened in episode 5 when Sal called Oz and Mikey's phone after Sal killed him.
Mikey, tell me something good.
Mikey's dead, you little bitch.
Maybe just Oz liked this move and he stole it from Sal. Also, perfect timing from Oz, again, catching Sofia at her lowest. Dr. Rush was getting close, or at least somewhere with Francis, and they're doing some sort of hypnotizing process. His techniques and the way he's just a straight up freakazoid lead me to believe that this series will work as his origin story, and by the end, he'll become a named Batman villain. Some of y'all told us that the Bliss Spiral packaging design is similar to Spellbinder, a psychologist who turned into a mind-controlling villain in the Batman series, and maybe that can be revealed to be Dr. Rush eventually, maybe by the end of the season. Also, yes, I notice, you notice, we all notice that I've been using the term freakazoid for Dr. Rush, and in no way do I mean it in a negative way to the Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers show. I mean it in a negative way only to Dr. Rush, because the WB Freakazoid, I had a crush on him. I still do. Regardless, Sofia stares at the Falcone family portrait hanging back on the wall again, and it was taken down during the bloody money scene where Sofia killed Johnny Vitti. Maybe Sofia missed it and wanted to hang it back up, but that photo did go back up. Maybe they own multiples. I doubt it. Back with Oz and the gang underground, we're at a newsstand, an old newsstand in the tunnel, and one of the signs says personalized horoscopes, favorable and unfavorable days. It's yet to be determined what kind of day this will be for Oz because it keeps bouncing back and forth, and I'm getting whiplash. There's also a little shelf for Brack's candies. Brack's Candy Factory was actually used for filming in 2008's The Dark Knight. It was used as the Gotham Hospital. It also is an actual candy factory, so them making real candy in the Batman universe isn't surprising. This is where they find out that nobody has heard from Vic. Calls just keep going to his voicemail, but we can't figure out whether or not Oz genuinely is worried for him or just wants another gunman around. A black G-Wagon enters the tunnel. It's supposed to be Sofia, and they allow her in and lock the tunnel, but in what world did he think that this would be that easy? Sofia's playing her own game here, and like Alberto, we believe Francis is in the trunk dead. Instead, it was actually a decoy bomb. Oz doesn't even warn his people to get out when it's about to explode, which is a very Oz thing to do, to look out for himself and only himself. He repeatedly gave this long-winded speech about how he needs everyone's help and owes everyone his life. They're all working for something bigger, and then he uses them and doesn't stick a neck out for them. Like with his brothers, what he told Vic, he's just weak. This is a great way of emotionally taking him down also. Those who survive or other gang leaders will wonder how Oz got out, but no one on his team did. Where was he when Sofia blew up and killed all his men? Why would you trust a man like this? He hides from the blast by jumping into the same overflow chamber in which his brothers drowned in, and this is all just cold as ice. We flash back to a young Oz and his mama. The house is very messy, and clearly after her sons went missing, she hasn't been there emotionally. So she decides to go out dancing this night and brings Oz with him in his little suit. They go to Monroe, and the song the woman is singing is Please Tell Me Now. Billie Holiday actually did an excellent record of this song back in the day, and it's a fabulous love song. We see the night Oz told us about when Francis came out and wanted to go dancing. In episode 2, Oz Oz in his suit dances with his mom wearing the same dress. Now in this scene, baby Oz promises he'll give everything to his mom until he dies. This flashback also explains the line of frustration and confusion Francis showed us in episode 2.
If my son is a nothing, what am I?
This scene may be a little weird to me. I immediately thought, this poor child is holding this grown woman bawling at a nice restaurant. Regardless, we see where a lot of this expectation came from. Oz's mom, in tears, told him how much she deserved and what she deserved. He just wants to make his mom happy. They had an interview regarding Oz and his mom's relationship, and they wanted it to be weird and twisted and a little bit verging on Oedipal. We never see where the overbearing mother complex began, but I wouldn't be surprised if it stemmed from Oz's leg. His mother probably overcared for him. Or perhaps once their father left or was out of the picture, she relied heavily on her boys to protect her and vice versa. While over-loving or controlling can initially stem from a loving place, it can leave, adverse effects. And I'm talking anxiety, being highly insecure, having difficulty forming secure attachments, and always seeking approval. This is also probably why all the women in his life are hood-ass women like his mom, but also why he thinks every woman in his life wants this payback sort of relationship. Like Eve he pays, Sofia he bargains with, and his mom lives a life of like endless emotional transactions. The signs were evident throughout the last 6 episodes, but it's important to note that his mother's approval and adoration influence everything he's done. However, that doesn't equate to or even fill the void of his low self-esteem. If he even won over his mom's full approval and adoration, it will never be enough for him. This void cannot be filled, but he's seeking ways to fill it. Oz comes to under debris of the tunnel. It's hard for him to climb the ladder like as a child, but he must get out. Outside, people are lost in the debris, cars are turned over, and his hearing comes back. Everyone's screaming, sirens are blaring, and people are dying. It's out of control. He mistakes another brown kid for Vic in this moment, which is kind of a wild thing to do. If he's like Kingpin, he's f***ed up this city supremely. Crown Point is totally and it's all because of him. We see Detective Marcus Wise, the member of the GCPD who's addicted to drops, help Sofia find one of Maroni's men back in episode 2. I bet he was the one who drove the bomb into the tunnels and ran out because Sofia wouldn't care if a crooked cop got blown up. He calls Oz the Penguin and Oz is like, what the f did you just call me? Detective Wise is also the first person outside of the Falcone crime family to refer to Oz as the Penguin to his face. Then we close the episode with Oz knocked unconscious to the cover of You Really Got Me by True Sis. Originally, it was by the Kinks. I also love how it begins with girl, you really got me, because Sofia absolutely has gotten Oz at the end of this episode. This was our heightening, and it all officially goes down next week on the last episode. Now we're left with the question, what is Sofia's real plan to hurt Oz? It's gotta be emotional, right? Because she said she wanted him to really hurt, to really feel pain. Will Sofia kill Francis, or will somehow learn what Oz did to his brothers? Or worse, in that scene with Dr. Rush, what if he learned Francis has always felt like Oz killed her boys and she just never said anything and secretly despises Oz, which is why she's so mean to him all the time? This would make sense because she just resents him, but she doesn't want to lose another son. That seems emotionally horrible for Oz to face some form of actual punishment for what he did to his brothers that goes beyond him feeling guilty. Comment down below what your thoughts are on this episode. How do you think this all will end next week? Follow me at Lulu_Clemons. Subscribe to all 3 channels of the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and coverage of all the things that you love. I also want to thank Brandon Barrick and Noah Chen for helping me write this episode. I love my boys. Those are my boys. Those are my sons, and I love them, and it's not over loving. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.